All right, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. We'll get started where everyone else does. As far as earliest childhood memory, what are we getting into?
Well, I think it helps with my backstory as well, but I grew up in Pennsylvania,
Okay.
outside of the Philadelphia area. But my grandparents had a house in the Pocono Mountains on a lake called Lake Wallenpaupack.
Okay.
It's definitely a mouthful, but if you know the area, you would know the lake, and it's just beautiful lake. So some of my earliest childhood memories are hanging out with my cousins at that lake. My mom is the youngest of five, so I have like 11 cousins, and I
Love
sit
it.
somewhere in the middle. So just always enjoyed summers there. We did boat activities, water skiing, wakeboarding, all of that good stuff.
Nice. Nice. That's awesome. So, was all the family there? It sounds like, was it just a vacation spot or just everyone was there from the family?
Well, so that house specifically, definitely a vacation spot, but we shared it as a family. So,
Nice.
there was no like 1 week here, 1 week there. I think as we got older, maybe we didn't go as much, but when we were younger, we were all there all the time. And I think
Yeah.
my parents and aunts and uncles appreciated the kids being able to entertain each other while they got to hang out by the lake and do whatever they wanted to do. So, lots
Yeah.
of fun.
That's phenomenal. We were just up at a lake in Montana, and our 3-year-old, we were like, "Oh, great! Like you can swim a little bit, and we can have your life jacket on you all the time." But then we have a almost 1.5-year-old. We're like, "Oh, we're on you the whole
Yeah.
time."
Yeah.
But it's like, all right, only another year and a half, and we're good.
Right.
This is going
Right.
to be great. As far as growing up in that kind of environment. Do you remember any like particular fun parts, or you're just like, I get to hang out with my family?
Well, I think it made me very close to my family. So like I said, I'm in the middle of my cousins, but I'm also in the middle of my siblings as well. So I have older
Yeah.
siblings and younger siblings.
Okay.
So I just always got used to being around people all the time.
Right.
And I think some of the most fun memories we had there were my grandparents for some reason kept like a really well stocked toy cabinet.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, so and they were like all kind of old, I guess they would feel nostalgic to us today, but like the light brights where you could put the little pegs in and design the lights, like the
Yep.
Lincoln Logs. We had so many Legos, just so many fun things that we could be entertained for hours, even if the weather wasn't nice.
Yeah.
Um, I think that, apart from being right on the lake, but having all of those toys and being around all my family all the time, like it was just so much fun.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it seems like a lot of people I have on, it's like, oh yeah, we just got to hang out with family, and then for whatever reason or another, that just doesn't happen as much these days. It's
Yeah.
it's like maybe 1 or 2 times a week or a year or maybe every other year. It's like, what's happening on this?
I
Um,
know. As we get older, I think it becomes more of a planned activity. I felt
yes,
like I guess maybe my parents planned it. I just showed up and had fun. So nowadays, like that we're responsible for planning it, it becomes more of like a planned activity rather than spontaneous hanging out with my
yeah.
family activity.
Well, and that's the thing on vacation. It's just like it's a vacation. The child is just like, hey, I'm having fun. Like that's just this whole thing is having fun. Like I don't have to
Yeah.
do this, I don't have to do that. I just have fun with my family, and I'm over here like, you are having fun. Like I will. We're gonna give you that.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
don't need to take away from that. As far as school went, in like elementary, middle school, did you enjoy school? Were you just there to hang out with friends? What was that looking like?
Well, I've always been kind of a perfectionist my whole life. So
Okay.
the school part itself, like I think I really did enjoy learning and the studying aspect, like I always knew that I had to do well and I wanted to do well in school. So I would say like the actual learning part of it, I liked school. I think in elementary school and middle school, I just didn't, and somewhat in high school as well, I didn't really know who I was like as a person or who I wanted to hang out with or the friends I wanted to keep. So I feel like I didn't enjoy the social aspect as
Yeah.
much because like I wasn't very confident in myself. So then the company that I was keeping, I don't think
Yeah.
was like the right company for me. And I really never felt like I had good friendships up until maybe late high school, college, and even now. I feel like my friendships are way better than they were when I was younger just because
Yeah.
I'm more confident in who I am and who I want to surround myself with.
Yeah. Well, I only have about 5 questions from that short statement. I'm gonna try to remember from the beginning. So when you say you were a perfectionist, what did that look like at a young age, and why do you think you were a perfectionist?
Um, to me, it was more so like I needed to get straight A's is what I always strive to do is get
Yeah.
straight A's. I think also just making sure that my work was turned in on time, even being to school on time. I never liked being late to school. I only missed a couple of days of class just because for sickness or whatever,
Yeah.
but I tried to be there as much as I could. I think part of that is like maybe the middle child syndrome, just trying to stand out, trying to be the right kid for your parents kind of thing. But also my parents, my mom specifically always had high standards. She always said, you know, you're going to go to college, you're going to do well in life. My parents got divorced when I was very young as well. So I
Yeah.
think just the motivation of like, I need to do well for myself because I can't
Okay.
rely on like a broken family to take care of it for me, kind of thing. And maybe that was sure not. You know, I have a great support system now, but being
That's how
young,
you felt. Yeah.
yeah, you feel like you know I have to do it right for myself because I've seen where things can go wrong, and I need to make
Gotcha.
my life right, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's where some of it stemmed from. Still feel like that a little bit today, but at least I've gotten to a place in my life where I feel like I'm successful and I've come to be who I am today that it has been repressed a little bit.
Yeah. As far as going through school and not necessarily knowing who you wanted to be and things like that, I feel like that would be a wonderful class or a exercise that our school should help us with. But um, what would have that looked like you at a young age? How would you have been able to find out who you wanted to be rather than kind of where you were?
I think that's a tough question because there's so many, I think, societal pressures when you're young and in school. Like you want to be part of a group of friends that seems cool or that, you know, feels like they get by a little bit easier than everybody else does.
Yeah.
So it's hard because you, I think, as a child, are just trying to find the best way to go through things, and you're perceiving like this cool group of people as the best way to go through things, but they're all kind of going through struggles in their own way as
Right.
well. I think having maybe you could have like one-on-one sessions with your counselors or even just small group sessions talking about those types of things that like being popular and cool isn't necessarily always the answer to everything. Like
Yeah.
you don't necessarily have an easier life just because you feel popular and cool. Like everyone is going through things in their own right and trying to figure out who they are
Mm.
as it is today. And I think some of that would have I felt like my middle school, high school, and even somewhat in elementary school, we had a lot of drama between like girl groups and guy groups and things like that. And I feel like some of those real talk sessions may have tamped down some of that drama, just giving people a little bit of empathy, understanding that like everyone has different things going on at home.
Yeah.
They may be presenting themselves one way at school, but that's not, you're not seeing the full story. I
Right.
think that definitely would have helped ease some of the tension that we had growing up.
I feel like my mom did a phenomenal job that I didn't realize till later, always saying like, "Hey, that person was probably going through something." But a lot of where I got like the cool people are, or that's kind of like the life I wanted was from like TV shows or movies. And when I was just hanging out with my friends, I never really thought of that stuff. But like when I looked at it from afar, it's like, oh, that person's on varsity, or those are the cool kids. And most of the people I talk to, they're like, "Oh yeah, I wasn't really in a group." But I'm like, "Wait, hold on, you were a cool kid. What do you mean you you were in a group?" But there seems to be just like a disconnect because when you're in school, you're not doing a huge amount of talking with everybody. Like you're in the class, you're listening to the teacher, or you're talking about like the topic or something like that. But it just seems hard to figure it all out when you're in school. And then if you don't see those people, you're not talking to them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, like you said, you kind of associate certain things with coolness. Like they played a certain sport and they're on
Yeah.
this team and now they're hanging out. And when I was in elementary school and even into middle school, I was really into horseback riding. And
Okay.
I just thought it was like I loved horses. My mom grew up on a farm, so she always had horses in her life as well. And I felt like while that was something that I enjoyed at home, it was not something that was necessarily cool to present at school. So I was always like fighting this like dichotomy of like who I was at home with my family, and I
Yeah.
felt very comfortable there, and then going to school and it was like, well, that's not who I am at school. I play field hockey at school. I do all of these things, but like we're not going to talk about the horse stuff in the
Yeah.
background.
Oh, that's so interesting. We had one girl that we knew that rode horses, and she would just arm wrestle the guys and just destroy most of the guys. And we're like, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
As far as like the drama you said that went on between like the boys and the girls, how do you feel like that was like represented? Like what was some of the situations if you're okay with sharing?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it was just like stupid, like you have a crush on this boy and I also
Okay.
had a crush on this boy. Like some of that like very young drama, like everything feels so serious back
Yes.
then. And I also think it's wrapped around like you're going through huge life changes. You're going through puberty, you're going through like kind of making decisions about what you're going to do with your life because at that point you're picking courses to take in high school that maybe would lead to what you do in college. I
Right.
think there's just so many massive life changes on top of like now you have to deal with all of this interpersonal experiences of people
Right.
being like young adults and growing up
Yeah.
into whoever they're going to be. So I feel like it was a lot of petty drama. And I always think about like, I wish I could go back and talk to my younger self because I just know that nothing that I was fighting with my friends or fighting with people about back then, I would care about today. Like
Yeah.
if someone told me that they have a crush on a boy that I also have a crush on, I would be like, you know what? It's fine. Like if you like them, I obviously like them for the same reasons and vice versa. Like we can be mature about it.
Yeah.
Obviously there's emotions involved, but or I maybe would have been like, you know what, you have him. If we're fighting over him, there's no point in fighting over it.
Yeah.
I think like it's just so funny the way that issues when you're younger feel so big and then now that you've been 10, 15, 20 years removed you're like I can't even believe that that was something that was like on my mind back then.
Yeah. Well, the two examples I like to use is like a baby, whenever anything happens that might be like get bumped a little bit or maybe like a little pinch. It's like that's the worst pain that that baby
Right.
has ever felt. And then like the same when you're in middle school, high school, like that heartbreak is the worst heartbreak, or that is like it's just like the variety it goes on. So I'm trying to be like, all right, in 2 hours will I care? Probably in like 2 days, maybe a little bit. 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years. It's like, all right, perspective wise, maybe I'll stay upset a little bit longer, but I feel like it's gonna be okay. But usually when you're in it, it's like this is all that's going on in my mind right now. We we
Yeah.
we can't get past it.
It's,
Um,
you know what, it's funny because like sure I've moved past it and maybe I don't think that there are the issues that I faced in high school I would never find issues in my life now. But I think about even the people that I went to high school with, like they are still always top of mind for me sometimes because
yeah,
it's like they felt like the most judgmental people. Like it felt like just such like a hot spot for drama that like even now when I post things on social media or if
yeah,
I make big moves in my life and I know that some people from my high school and middle school are still following me on social media, like they're always the first ones that come to mind being like, who's going to be talking about me? Who's sending this in their group chats? Like just because I experienced it so much back then with that specific group of people. And I'm sure they've matured and moved on and they're not talking about me in the way
yeah.
that I think that they are, but it does kind of stick with you for life the way that people you interacted with in middle school and high school.
Yeah. Well, I always looked up to those people that like may have not been considered like the typical hot one or the most athletic, but like they just had like a phenomenal attitude. They didn't care if somebody thought something negatively about me, even if it wasn't even true, I'd be like, why don't you like me? And like what
Yeah.
and just the outstanding confidence some people have. It's like, oh, you like yourself? That's a wild
Novel concept.
like I don't have to get outward like people don't have to say things to me for me to think those like that's wild.
Yeah, totally.
And another thing you mentioned that I totally forgot about is in high school they're like, "Oh yeah, what classes do you want to take for possibly for college?" I'm like, we're barely learning how to drive over here, and we're figuring out what we're doing with the rest of our life.
Yeah. And like what AP courses you're going to take that you potentially could translate into college
Right.
credits in the future. It's like such big decisions that maybe at the time you don't realize they're such big decisions
Yeah.
that do kind of help formulate what you're going to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I feel like the kids that kind of lock in when they're younger and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is what I'm going to do for my life." I'm like, "That's incredible. Like how did that happen?" It's like, "Well, a nurse when I was younger helped my parents through some hard times. They made me feel really happy and this is what I want to do with my life." I'm like, "That's sold. Where can I buy one of those moments?"
I wish that I had that too. Yeah.
That's that's what I'm looking for here. When you were going through high school, I feel like for myself, a lot of it was self-judgment, and I didn't have to deal with any of the girls whispering behind my back because no one was talking about me. But I feel like for girls in particular, it's tough because maybe you had a bad hair day or maybe hormonally or whatever it was. Did you experience any of that stuff through high school?
Yeah, I mean, and unfortunately, I also participated in it. Like, I think that's just kind of how you felt like you had to get by.
Yeah.
Like, you were always trying to make yourself seem better. Like, if you were having a bad day, sometimes putting someone else down, like, made you feel better.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
I mean, I definitely think I experienced that, but even and goes back to the I wish I could talk to my younger self. Like going back to like having a bad hair day, I have had curly hair my whole life. I hated
Okay.
it in high school. I would straighten it to be pin straight, and on a humid day, it would like ruin my whole day
Yeah.
if my hair was out of place because I'm in my head thinking people are talking about me. They're judging me for my hair. It looks so bad. Now I'm like I could care less. I'll put it up in a ponytail, and maybe it's just that I feel more confident with the people that I surround myself with, and I know that they're not
Yeah.
talking about me. But it's like those little things that I spent so much time worrying about. I also projected that onto other people. Like if I'm worried about myself having a bad hair day because I'm insecure about myself,
Yeah.
I'm then projecting that on other people, noticing if they have a bad hair day or noticing if I don't like their outfit or whatever it may be. It's like I felt like it was always I was not confident in myself. I'm talking bad about myself, and now I'm doing the same thing, and I'm sure that's what everyone else was doing as well, is like projecting their insecurities into talking bad about other people.
Yeah. Well, and once again, like the confidence thing, it's like how I've two children. You saw one of them earlier, and I'm like, this is the biggest thing. Is I'm if I can build your confidence, I feel like we're good. Like you can
Yeah.
handle any situation. I feel like that's number one. That's what we're worried about the most here. For you, when do you feel like you started gaining a little bit of confidence, or what did that look like for you?
I think I always knew I had to get out of my hometown. So I grew up in kind of a small town outside of Philadelphia, but like predominantly white, predominantly wealthy. Like I feel like I had no otherworldly experiences just coming from where I was. And so then I graduated high school, went to the University of Pittsburgh, and I think
Okay.
that's where I started really learning about just other people and other issues that are bigger than myself and bigger than what was going on in my small
Yeah.
town. And I think college really helped me build the confidence in who I am today. And that's not to say that it didn't take a lot of growing. It took 4 years, I think, at least, to get to the confidence level
Yeah.
that I was. But like, I picked a major that I felt like I was successful in. I learned about other issues facing even the world. Like I didn't even know about some of those things growing up where I was from. And so being part of different organizations, meeting different people, learning different perspectives, I think that gave me the confidence to really understand that like my little bubble that I lived in is not the same way that everybody lives and that
Yeah.
it's okay to be a little bit different and it's okay to like experience life in your own way. That I think that's really helped me feel confident that it is everyone's first time living too. So I don't need to be so focused on what everyone else is doing. I need to be more so focused on myself and, being the best version of myself.
Yeah, I grew up and I thought everyone always had family dinners and then they always saw like their grandparents on the weekends for other dinners and just like I mean my parents were divorced but like they got along better after divorce, which was and I'm like, "Oh, I like just family
Right.
is great. Like ever like you should go everywhere you go in like a happy place." I'm like, "Oh." Like I started dating a girl and it was like you guys just like sit on the TV and eat and don't really talk and like
Yeah.
what's going on here? And it was really funny because whenever I would date someone, they would like start having family dinners or eating at the dinner table and like talking. I was like, this is great. Happy I could bring this to the relationship.
That's so funny because I have the same exact experience with my relationship now. So my boyfriend, he's an only child and like never really they didn't eat dinner together per se. Like they would eat it at the same time, but they're
Yeah.
watching whatever on the TV. My family is a very much like every single day we sit down and we eat dinner together kind of family.
Mhm.
And in the first couple of years, I had never put two and two together. He always said, like, it's so nice that you guys sit down and eat together. I'm like, yeah, duh, like we all do that. And he later told me, like, no, my family doesn't do that. Like, you
Yeah.
guys fully sit down, fully engaged in conversation, and we just never did that when I was younger.
Yeah, my mom would bring out conversation cards. And it was just everyone would just it's just like a running joke. We'd always be like, "Oh, mom, you got any questions for us today?" Like as we got older and stuff like that, just to fuel the conversation. Like I took so much of that stuff for granted. I was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you gave me wonderful skills, mom. I appreciate that." And then like I'll do the same thing with my friends. Be like, "Oh, what do you think of this question?" I'm like, "Oh man." Gotta tell my mom she did a good job again.
Yeah, I always bring up rosebud thorn. Have you ever heard of that
Uh-uh.
concept? So it's basically a conversation starter, and I do it like every time my whole family gets back together, or even if I have a big group of friends getting together that I haven't seen in a while. And it's a way to give a quick synopsis of what's going on in your life without having to like be prompted. So the rose is something that has happened recently that is good, or something that
Yeah.
you really enjoyed recently. A bud is something that you're looking forward to, so something coming up. And
Okay.
a thorn is something that maybe has bothered you recently or didn't go as well as you wanted to recently. So you can like complain about that too. So I always say like, let's do rosebud thorn. I'll start and I'll give the example of like something I enjoyed, something I'm looking forward to, and something that's been kind of annoying me.
I'm gonna have to clip this for sure, but I'm gonna text myself that Rosebud Thorn is what
Yep.
that's called.
My family and friends will die if they see a clip of Rosebud Thorn because last time I was home, I sat down and we had literally just put our plates down and I go,
Yeah.
so, and my stepdad, he goes, not yet, not yet. I was like, no, I wasn't even going there yet, but they know Rosebud Thorn is coming.
Well, I enjoy talking to people, um, and I have the hardest time saying, "Oh, what do you do for work?" Like, and I'm like, I'm not gonna ask what you do for work. I'm like, what do you do for fun? And then a lot of people are like, what? I'm like,
Fun?
oh, what makes you happy? Do you have a hobby? Is everything okay? Do I need to call someone? Like,
Yeah.
we should be able to answer that.
Yeah. And you know what? It does kind of bring up some like really interesting conversations. And also, if you wanted to get into it, like if someone feels like they don't have something they're looking forward to, it's like, okay, well, let's put something on the books. Let's
Yeah.
get something that we can both look forward to. So it's kind
Mhm.
of a good way to just get a quick recap of
So,
what's going on in your people's
how
lives.
how did you hear about Rosebud Thorn? Was it on a reel? Was it on a, like where did that come from?
I think it started at summer camp. So me and my sister, we both used to go to the summer camp called Sandy Hill,
Okay.
and you would be placed in a cabin with a group of girls. And I think the way that they would break the ice, or I learned it from one of the counselors that this is how they would break the ice, is they would do like a rosebud thorn.
Yeah,
And so it was just an easy way to get to know your cabin mates and break the ice before you spent 2 weeks with them.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So when we got to college, how did you pick what you were going to do or what path you were going to start down?
Um, So my mom was an accountant or is an
Okay.
accountant. And so she had always preached, like, I think if you're unsure of what your career is going to be long term, I think being a business major is something that will always be a good basis for whatever you decide to do later in life. So I went into the business school and I actually started out with, they call it global management, but it's kind of an international business type um, degree. And I always thought that I wanted to travel all over the world for work or maybe be a representative for a company across like abroad or something like that. But there was not a lot of like specificity, I felt like, to that major. It was very
Yeah.
general management, and then you laid on like I had to take a language all 4 years. And so I just felt like I didn't necessarily resonate with that because it didn't really like give me any guidance to where I was going to go with my career. So I ended up switching to finance major. I was always good at math. And I just felt like, finance, money is easy. I think I could figure that out later
Yeah.
in life. So I ended up as a finance major with a minor in international business. So I still
Okay.
kind of had that flavor to it. I took Spanish all 4 years. And then, yeah, that's kind of how I decided what major I was going to be. But it was mostly like, I think I just need a good base to figure out what I'm going to do later in life.
Yeah. So freshman year, you're living on your own. What were some of the things that you had to learn pretty quickly, and then what were some of the fun times?
Uh, I think being away from my mom, me and my siblings and my mom were all pretty close. And I feel like I called my mom for everything. Like, I got a little ding in my car, I'm calling my mom. I forgot my homework at home, I'm calling my mom. Like, I think that was like the most jarring is that I'm not 2 seconds away from my mom. But I still called her at least once a week. I called her all the time. I think the other thing is like having a roommate, a random roommate for the first time and figuring out how to live with someone that's not my sister. Like I could tell my sister she's annoying me and we could be rude to each other and then all would be fine the next day, but having a roommate was like definitely something I really had to learn how to cohabitate with someone that is not my relative. But it all ended up being fun. I think freshman year I still look back as the most fun year of my life so far because I lived on a floor with like 30 girls that were all my age. We were all excited to be freshmen.
Yeah.
I actually met one of my best friends who I'm going to be a bridesmaid in her wedding coming up over Labor Day weekend
All
on
right.
my floor freshman year. We ended up being in the same sorority. So I think just having an immediate group of friends right away was really, really cool freshman year. And then one I've carried through the rest of my life. So
Yeah. How was it getting into sorority? Did you have to rush or anything like that, or what
yeah.
was the vibe these days?
Yeah, we had to rush, and I have no regrets about being in a sorority. I will say, though, I think I hadn't like totally shaken the idea that I wanted to be like the cool girl. Like I wanted to be part of the popular girls.
Yeah.
So when we were rushing, and there was a bunch of girls on my floor that were rushing, you kind of have this idea of like what the cool sororities are, and you want to be a part of those. And I did end up in one that I felt like was like one of the cool sororities, and again, loved it. I loved all my girls that I was in the sorority with, but I don't know that they necessarily aligned in the same way that like I didn't feel like I always totally fit in. Like I felt like they were always cooler than me because I
Yeah.
still had that idea in my head that like I needed to be part of the cool girls and I was kind
Right.
of playing a game to like be part of this cool group of people. And maybe at the end of the day it wasn't exactly the right fit, but I still got to make friends and I still had a lot of fun. But I think it was still very much like remnants of trying to be the cool person.
Yeah, I struggle when trying to define what my daughter's doing and try not to use the term cool because I feel like that's too
Yeah.
encompassing and it doesn't accurately describe. So then you can shoot for cool, but what does that mean? Okay, let's break it down. Am I wearing North Face and Uggs? Do
Does it
do
mean you have
I
the best outfit? Does it
yeah,
mean you're doing the coolest things? It's so hard to describe.
do I have my Starbucks in the morning? Do I do this? Do I do that? And I think once you break whatever the thing is down, then you're like, okay, is that cool or is that just those particular things? And I feel like that portraying something more accurately makes it easier to understand. But I've yet to figure out a better word for cool and as a like as an easier word. So I think just being more accurate
Yeah.
is something I'm
And
struggling with.
yeah, it makes sense so much. And I think that's like one of the best parts about being an adult is you get to define what cool is in your life.
Yeah,
Like I think a lot of adults circle back to things that they were interested in when they were younger because they felt like
yes.
it wasn't something that was cool enough. But now that it doesn't matter, now that you have big adult money and you can have big adult free time and do whatever you want with it, like I think people come back to the things that they thought were cool because there's no real definition of cool
Yeah.
when you're an adult.
Yeah. So what was the uh maybe the one or two best times that you had in college?
Um, That's a great question. One of the things that I think I'm most proud of in college is I helped form something that still exists at Pitt today. It's called the Pitt Women's Leadership Experience.
Okay.
And I was part of a subset of people that helped put this kind of conference together, but it was for all women only or women identifying. They could go and we would learn different leadership skills. So, like negotiation tactics, even like we took an etiquette class, which I thought was really cool. Um, just a lot of different conversations and a lot of speakers that we got to come in and we got to go off campus for a weekend. And you also were assigned, since I was women leader, I got assigned some mentees that helped me have like a network going forward. And we still keep in touch and
Yeah.
keep in contact with people that I had met as part of this group. And then that went on to happen. And I assume it's still happening, but as long as I was there, it was still happening. So kind of being one of the founding members of this Pitt Women's Leadership Experience was really cool. The other highlight, and this is just an opportunity for me to brag, I guess, is
Let's
my
go.
international finance class, which is one of the most notoriously hard classes in college. The final has always notoriously been so hard. So I was studying so hard, and me being the perfectionist that I was, like I knew I needed to do well. And I ended up getting a 97 on my final and unfortunately ruined the curve for everybody else. But he gave me a shout out in the year end email saying, Taylor got a 97, best score out of all the classes that I teach. So,
So the that's always interested me when it comes to finals and like, oh, you got an A, you got a 67. Is what's usually happening in that scenario? Is it memory? Is it just so much information? What's going on there that a lot of people struggle with it?
um, I don't know, to be honest. Like, I think it's also a lack of interest, if I'm being
Okay.
like, I thought it was like a very cool class. I thought some of the math behind it, like I said, I've always been good at math. I thought the math behind it was pretty cool. It was like converting currencies and things like that that I thought was just very interesting. But I do think some of it, like going back to the idea that you kind of have to pick a career at 18 years old and then your major is your career. I
Yeah.
think some of it it's a lack of interest, and a lot of people are there to get the degree, and maybe it's not something they're totally aligned with because you had to decide at 18 years old that that's what you're going to go forward with. And by the time you get to senior year, it's like, well, now I just got to finish. I got to get the degree. I got to pass. I got to get out of here.
Okay, so it's like oh more of a passing type of thing. I'll be fine. This is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I'll take that. I always interested in learning more about that. So when you're headed towards the end of college, are you getting internships and you're like, this is what I'm gonna do? What happened there?
Yeah. Well, I only applied for one company, I think just and not because I knew I wanted to work there, but it was the first company that I interviewed for and the first company that I got an offer at. And
Yeah,
I enjoyed the interview process. I enjoyed the people I met along the way. So the summer before my senior year, I did an internship. It's an internal audit firm. So it's mostly looking at like financial statements, really nothing too interesting. But I was kind of the perspective like a job's a job. I kind of want
yeah,
to get paid and, have PTO and all that good stuff. So they ended up giving me a full-time offer in Pittsburgh after college. And I'm not from Pittsburgh since I'm from the Philadelphia area. And I had spent the summer in Pittsburgh the summer before, and I just wasn't obsessed with it. I felt like I'd kind of seen the whole city in the 4 years that I was there.
yeah.
So I had told them, I would love to work for you, but I don't want to work in Pittsburgh. And they said, we only have one other job opening in Chicago. And I said, sure, I'll go there.
Let's go.
So after I graduated, I moved to Chicago this summer after my senior year. So in 2018, so it's been a long time, a little over 7 years at this point that I've been in Chicago. But it was very serendipitous. I actually had a friend who was a year older than me that just happened to have a room open in her apartment in Lakeview
Yeah.
right when I needed to move in a beautiful apartment. And so I moved in without even ever having been to Chicago or seen the apartment. My mom drove out with me.
No one sold you on it. You're just like Chicago
No,
sounds like a great place. Let's go.
I had met a couple people in my internship that were working out of the Chicago office, and I
Yeah.
liked them, but I knew nothing about Chicago. Like, I had been in Pennsylvania my entire life. I dabbled in New Jersey a little bit, but like my whole life, I didn't know much about outside of Pennsylvania. So went to Chicago, very quickly realized it's the best city in the whole world. And now I've been here ever since.
I would say most people that live in Illinois, it's either for work or family, or people want to get out.
Yeah. Yep. And I think a lot of people end up staying because it's a great city to be. It's pretty central. You can get to a lot of places from
Yes.
here. So it's worked out great. Even the flights, there's like 10 flights a day to Philly, so I can always get home for a good price. So
Yeah. Oh, that's very nice. Yeah, I know most of the city folk are like, yeah, why would you want to leave the city? And then when they go to the burbs, they're like, maybe I'm thinking Kentucky, Tennessee, Texas. We're done with this Illinois stuff.
yeah,
But the
yeah,
city, very nice. It has everything you need.
exactly.
So when you get to Chicago, were you always doing fitness type things, or was that something that just kind of popped up at some point in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I'd always loved being active. So I played sports, I played field hockey. I always liked group fitness. When I moved to Chicago, I had joined a gym right away. I love my gym. I went there every single day. And actually, my roommate at the time, she was very much on the schedule that she would get up early and work out before work.
Yeah.
And I at first was like, "You're crazy. I can't believe you do that." And then because I lived with her and we kind of got on the same schedule, I was like, I get it. I know why people do this. Like it starts your day right. And I just got really into it at that point. And so I was doing a lot of research just like on my own about best ways to structure your strength training programs. And it was like something that I was really getting into, especially that first year. I felt like I had so much free time because I was just working 8 to 5 and then I would come home and
Just
what
eight to
else was
five.
I doing? Yeah, just 8 to 5. But then 2020 happened and I was like really kind of reconsidering, is this what I want to do with the rest of my life? I feel like it was one of those times where everyone's like very scared and it's like, is this the beginning of the end? Like, did I
Yeah.
do with my life what I wanted to do with it? And that's where I was like, I think I need to start doing things that I enjoy rather than just going through the motions day to day, going to this job that I'm not obsessed with, like coming home and watching TV that I don't care about. Like just I felt like I was going through the motions. I was enjoying my life because it was, new and fresh, but then when you took out the city of Chicago and I was just stuck doing what I do every day, I
Yeah.
was like, this can't be it for the rest of my life. So that's when I studied for my personal training certification. At that time, I'd also gotten a nutrition certification as well as a group fitness certification. And I was into it. I was so sold. And so as soon as Chicago started allowing group fitness again, I started working at a group fitness studio at the beginning of 2021. And then from there, it was like it's something that I knew that I was going to do with my life or something that was going to be a part of my life. And I didn't know exactly how that was going to look, but it definitely was something that I was like, this is fun. It's interesting. It's the most enjoyment I've gotten out of a job since
Yeah.
I've graduated that like I knew it was something that was going to be a long-term thing for me.
So do you journal this? Are you speaking with family? Are you talking with friends? Is this kind of just run in the back of your head before you're falling asleep? Like where did this come, not necessarily come to fruition, but when are you like, this is what we're doing?
So early 2021 was actually when I met my boyfriend, who I'm still with now.
Yeah.
And I think he, for what it's worth, like instilled a lot of confidence in me. He's like, I don't think you have to be doing what you're doing. And I had always told him, I was like, I feel like my life was meant to be bigger than what it is right now. And
Yeah.
he was like, your life can be bigger. Like, you're not limited to just what you are doing now, just because you had a finance degree, just because you moved to Chicago for this job. There's a lot more out there that you can do. And that doesn't
Yeah.
mean you have to quit your job. You can spend time doing it. And so I think he really helped me understand that like the world that I lived in is not as small as it feels. So he really, for what it's worth, pressured me to be like, figure out what you want to do, figure
Yeah.
out like what your life looks like. And so I felt a little bit like responsible to him. Like I'm like, there's someone that believes that there's something else that I can do. I have to be responsible. I have to like show him and show myself that there is something else that I can do. So I think that was really what motivated me and what was keeping me on track was like, someone believes in me. I should believe in myself. So that's where we are now.
So when did you find out that you were gonna buy the gym, or like what was the process? Like how did that happen?
Yeah, so I've been teaching group fitness since 2021. Loved it. I was also personal training one on one and working my full time job. and I had dabbled with the idea that maybe I should become like my own independent contractor, like start to work at a couple different gyms, maybe rent some studio space from people, do it on my own because I can make more money that way. And then I actually came across this listing for the gym that I own now. And I was like, maybe it makes sense that I buy my own space and offer that opportunity to other people. Like,
Uh,
I'm looking for it. I'm looking for more independent space. I'm looking for a way that I can make more money doing this. Maybe that's where I noticed a opportunity in the market that I can then buy this gym and offer it as a space for other people to train and also
okay.
have group fitness there. So, yeah, back in January, we closed on this gym called Club 33 Fitness in Old Town. It was Club 33 before I got there, but today's Club 33 is very different than what it was in the past. We've shifted the focus of the classes. We've also brought in opportunities for independent trainers to come in and rent the studio from me. So we made a lot of positive changes between January and now, and
Yeah.
that I feel like the personality of the gym is totally different than what it was before I got
I
there.
I didn't even think of the whole renting it out to other personal trainers. Like that's a good idea. I feel like when you go to like a export or a lifetime or something like that, um, they're not necessarily phoning it in, but they have the style that the gym more or less allows. But I think like what's your thought on letting the other people come in and doing it?
Yeah, so I think there's two parts to that. Like, part of it is one, as the trainer, you're kind of beholden to the pricing and the clientele and the type of training that they do at that studio.
Yeah,
So whether it be like an Equinox, an FFC, Chicago Athletic Clubs, like they bring in the clients for you and you're kind of stuck with their pricing model and whatever they decide to pay you percentage wise.
yeah,
But then I'm always wary of the fact that like I want to curate a specific brand that is Club 33, and that even if I'm bringing in these independent trainers, they have to align with whatever brand that
okay,
I want to represent. So I do offer them more flexibility. They pay a flat rate to me to rent the studio from me, but as part of like this agreement, they agree that they are going to represent in a way that feels like it aligns with my brand. So
yeah,
limiting conversations in the studio, making sure that when they're talking about the studio outside of the gym, that it's, reflective of what we want to put out there, but
yeah,
also acknowledging they are independent trainers. They don't work for me, but they do, in a way, obviously, because they're in my space, represent me and the people that I would surround myself with.
right.
So it's definitely a conversation that I have with everyone who rents the studio for me and everyone that does work for me personally, is that they make sure that they're representing the brand in the way that I feel like it should be.
And when you decided more or less picking a brand that you wanted, how'd you go about figuring out what you were looking for?
Yeah, so I love working out, but I do understand that it's something that's intimidating to get into, especially because there's so much information out there. And there's also a certain image of someone who is someone who works out.
Yeah,
And I felt like while there's a lot of amazing group fitness studios in Chicago, I don't think anyone really tapped into the idea that like it is intimidating to go to a group fitness studio for the first time, or it isn't intimidating to pick up a barbell for the first time. That when I think of my brand is I want it to be a space where people go in and they're comfortable being themselves, they feel included and they feel like they're being supported and
yeah,
in a way that allows them to come in for the first time and not feel as intimidated and feel like they are getting the direction and the support that they need to be able to be successful in whatever their
yeah.
fitness journey is.
I like that a lot. When people come to you, what's the uh what's the biggest reason people come in? They're like, "Oh, I like I'm here just to lose weight," or it's I just want to move. What are you seeing the most?
A variety of reasons. And I think what's really cool and what I've learned a lot is what I thought my target market is maybe not necessarily actually what my target
Okay.
market is. So I was thinking, the classic group fitness person is probably someone like me, someone that likes to be active, someone that wants to be a little bit social in their fitness activities, someone who maybe is more of like I want you to tell me what to do. I don't want to have to figure out workouts for myself. So probably a busy professional that just wants to be 45 minutes in and out. But I found that I have a lot of mothers. I have a lot of older men that want to continue, keeping their muscle as they get older.
Yeah.
I have people who are nurses and doctors that like find time that works with their schedule to come to my studio. So it's just a range
Yeah.
of who my target market is. But what I find is the same across the board is that they want direct help with their strength training and they want to be told what to do and they have so much going on outside of their life that this is their time to focus on themselves and really not have to worry about everything else going on in their life.
Yeah. No, I mean that's phenomenal. What would you say your most controversial fitness take is?
My controversial fitness take, and I think it goes against like selling to people that go to my gym, but my controversial fitness take is I would prefer you to just find a way to move in a way that is enjoyable for you.
Yeah.
So if you like walking, I would rather you walk. That's better than nothing.
Yeah.
If you like strength training, come in, work out with me, let's strength train. If you like Pilates, if you like yoga, whatever keeps you moving, I would rather you do that than me try to sell you on something that you don't necessarily enjoy.
Right.
That's kind of my hot take there.
Yeah. Well, I worked with a lot of people during COVID, and I'm like, I can give you the best 2 day split. We're gonna do cardio in the morning, strength in the afternoon, just because when you wake up, you're not necessarily gonna be hitting those big numbers. We can get these macros perfectly, but if you don't like it, you're gonna last 3 days. There is no chance you're
And
gonna
it feels
do.
like a punishment. Like it's like, oh, I have to do this. And I'm like, no, I want you to feel excited to go do whatever you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
I
You see
recently
Sharon playing pickleball she's 50. She's having a great time.
yeah,
She's going to do that every day for the rest of her life, as opposed to you ran 2 miles and you're done. You don't
yeah.
want any more of this.
And my mom just recently got into bowling. She liked bowling when she was
Oh,
younger. Now she's in a
yes.
bowling league. And I'm like, I'm obsessed with that. It's an 8 pound ball. It's heavy enough. Like I love that she gets out there and goes and does something.
Yeah. Well, the wild thing about bowling is like if you get into leagues or tournaments, it's a lot of bowling.
Yeah. And it's a lot of movement, it's a lot of balance, coordination. Like honestly, a lot of lifelong skills can come out of just bowling.
Absolutely. When it comes to like eating and nutrition, what have you seen works best for you? And then how do you not necessarily tailor it, but how do you talk to other people that are looking just for an improvement?
Yeah. So I actually think my perspective on eating has been like radically changed by training for my first marathon.
Oh, are you doing the Chicago one?
So I am doing Chicago in the fall, but I did my first Chicago in 2021.
Nice.
And I think people forget or people have never been taught that food is fuel. And the only way that you can do everything in your life is if you eat enough to sustain whatever you're doing in your life. And I think just being immersed in your marathon training where you have to think about the intervals in which you need to refuel to be able to continue running for 4 hours or however long it takes you to do your marathon,
Yeah.
it kind of completely shifted my mindset that like if I need to be moving and doing something all day, I need to be eating at regular intervals to keep myself moving no
Mhm.
matter what it is. So I think that was something that really also radically changed my mind is the amount of carbs you have to eat when you're training for a marathon. Like everyone's always like, carbs are the villain. We don't want to eat carbs. Like we were taught that our whole lives growing up. And then you just simply eat straight carbs in the middle of your marathon training. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that makes so much sense. Like carbs are energy. You need that. So I think I always say if you're ever like confused about where you're going in life, go run a marathon. It teaches you so many things. It teaches you, how to commit to something. It teaches you how to eat right. It teaches
Yeah.
you how to like stay on a routine and a schedule and go to sleep when you need to go to sleep and all of those things. But that being said, that's always my perspective on food, and that's what I always tell people is like if you're struggling with like the plate that is in front of you, remind yourself that it is fuel. You need fuel, even carbs, even that donut that you want to eat. That is carbs. That'll get you through
Yeah.
the day. That'll bring you energy. Like don't place any sort of value on the food that you're eating other than like is this going to give me enough energy or is this going to keep me full to do what I need to do today?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the tough thing for most people is 23 hours out of the day, they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And they went to the gym once, which phenomenal, gaining our strength, and we got to make sure to eat. But how do you have that discussion with someone that's not in marathon training and they're not necessarily burning as much as uh we'll go
Yeah,
back 20,
totally.
someone
Yeah.
working on a farm or something like
No,
that, moving
totally.
all
And
day.
I think that's where a lot of people struggle is, especially post-COVID world where we could easily not leave our apartments all day if you
Yeah,
work from home and you could sit at your desk and then you move to your couch and then you go move to your bed. So
yeah,
like I can totally understand the idea that like I don't need to eat that much because I'm not doing that much. But I would also argue that you're probably doing a lot. Like you have to get yourself up and out of bed every day. You have to sit and focus. I think part of what fuel is also fuel for your brain and fuel for your mind and
yeah.
having good ideas and being productive in a certain way. You also probably have to do laundry. You have to, go to the grocery store, do all of those things that like require energy. So I guess maybe don't discount everything that you do, but also tailor your consumption to what you're doing. So focus more on a intuitive eating process. So eat when you're hungry and not eat when you're bored. Like
Yeah.
I do that all the time. I sit on the couch and I watch TV and now a bag of chips is gone. Kind of consciously enjoying your food and understanding why you're eating versus am I just eating because I'm bored?
Well, yeah, and I think I would have to agree with that in the way of if we're eating a more whole food uh diet or whatever it is, your body will tell you what you need.
Yeah.
But if you're not eating that, then the wonderful scientists at whatever company is selling you that food is hijacking whatever your brain is telling you, and they want you to eat more. So I think that's a difficult one because at a young age we don't listen to our body if we have a poor relationship to food.
Right.
And then we're like, okay, listen to your body. I'm like, what do you mean? My body's telling me to eat all this food.
Yeah,
So that
totally.
it's
And
really
like
hard to figure that out for yourself.
and that's not even taking into account like the food that's available to you. Like if you live close to a Jewel, like you have then
Yeah,
a world of opportunities. But if you only live close to a Dollar General or an Aldi that maybe doesn't
right.
have as much selection, like that's not even taking into the full account of like what's available to you. It's just then, getting to the point where you can even have the opportunity to listen to your body is like a whole other
Yeah.
conversation.
So when you add something into your life, do you try to do a bunch of different things at once? Do you really hone in on one thing and you're like, I'm going to do this till it's done, or how does that work for you?
No, I'm unfortunately more of the former. I do everything at once. So
Oh,
I'm like full send on everything and I think I'll figure it out later. I've kind of adopted this mindset that like it'll all work out. Whatever the way that it works out, it'll all work out for
yeah,
me. So even right now, I own the gym. I actually still have an 8 to 5 that I work every day. And then I'm training for the marathon. I have a wedding every month through the end of the year. I'm a bridesmaid in a wedding coming up
yeah.
Labor Day weekend. So for me, I'm kind of full send on everything and then I'll figure it out later. And I think it's probably a better way to do it because if I sit around and I think too much, I'll never do anything. So you just got to jump in with 2 feet and hope that it works out. And that could work out positively or negatively. It could be,
Right.
yeah, it worked out great or it didn't work out at all.
Well, you would always be well, like if you were a client, you'd make me look like the best coach because I would tell you to do something and you just do it. Like that's just your personality, and then that's just kind of how you do things. And I feel like most people, when they start something, they're like, "Oh, I'm going to give this a try." But you've gotten to where you are, and I think this is people listening to the podcast, it's when you start something, like you're going to do it, you're going to see it through, and it either did work, like I followed what I was supposed to do and it did work, or I followed through and it didn't work. But there's not giving up after a couple of weeks or things of that nature. But where do you think that came from? If you could not necessarily pinpoint it, but has it been just like a
Yeah.
gradual incline or
I mean, I've always been somebody that like thrives when I'm busy. I
yeah,
think if I have too much free time, I don't know what to do with myself and I'm not as, I guess, productive or even have as much of a positive mindset. Like I think when I
yeah,
sit around and ruminate on things too long, that's when like some negative thoughts will come in. But yeah, I've always been someone that always likes to be busy. So I think that's where I just do everything at once has come from. But not to keep harping on everyone should run a marathon, but I do think that another great lesson learned about this marathon is the first time I was running the marathon, I got to 2 weeks before I was actually supposed to run the marathon, and I turned to my boyfriend and I was like, I'm actually not that excited about it anymore because I've already done it. Like I just ran 22 miles. Like what is the last four? I
Yeah.
feel like it's not as exciting because, I've been there, done that. Like this is more of a formality, but that was really the lesson learned is it's actually not the destination, it's
Yeah.
the process along. So I took 3 months to train for this marathon. I had the ups and the downs. I built myself up. I learned a lot along the way, and I think that is also the what keeps me motivated is even if, for example, my gym ends up not working out. Let's say I crash and burn. I
Yeah.
have learned so much. I have met so many great people along the way that like I do genuinely think it would be a success no matter what.
Yeah. People don't want to hear that though. They just want to hear about the end goal.
I know. And don't get me wrong, actually the marathon 2021 marathon was the best day of my life. I saw all my friends along the marathon course because I was running through my neighborhood. My mom and my sister came out. It was the best day of my life. I ate a half dozen donuts at the end of it. I couldn't imagine a better day, but it was the journey, not the destination.
Yeah. Well, I love that so much. And before we get to the last two questions, where are we headed? Is there something new coming in, or what are we looking for in the future here?
Um, Nothing too exciting. I think the thing that I'm most looking forward to is just seeing where this gym takes me. I have been doing it for 8 months now. I think I haven't been through the winter season fully yet. So I'm excited to see what the winter looks like because I think every season at the gym is something new.
Yeah.
My goal going forward is to have at least one monthly event. So we're probably going to try to do a September social event with my members and then into the Thanksgiving and Christmas season, probably a giving tree or something like that. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to is hosting events at the gym.
That's fantastic. Well, we'll end with the last two questions that everyone gets. What's your definition of health? Not necessarily the dictionary definition, but what is health to you?
Health to me is a compilation of your mental, physical, financial, all of the types of well-being that you can think of. They are all factors into your health.
Yeah.
I think it looks different for everyone. And I think health is where you can get to a place in your life that you are doing everything that you want to do and nothing is hindering you from doing that. And I actually took this lesson from my sister and I was kind of venting to her about I feel like I'm almost 30 and I don't love the way my body looks, or I liked what I looked like at 25 versus
Yeah.
now 30. And she was like, well, can you do everything that you've wanted to do? And I said, yeah, and then some. And she was like, so I think you're okay. Like, you've gotten to a point in your life where you are healthy enough physically, financially, and mentally that you have done and can do everything that you want to do. So
Yeah.
there's nothing that you need to change.
Ooh, I like that. And then what's something from your life that people listening to the podcast would be able to take away as a positive?
I think just do it. Whatever you're thinking about, just do it. Jump in with 2 feet. If it doesn't work out, you've learned a lot of lessons along the way. And don't forget to run a marathon before you die.
Well, there it is. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.